Hello, this is CJ Radoon of RotoWire.com for your Formula One update here on Mystery Caution. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any motorsports videos all season long. We've got NASCAR, IndyCar, and of course Formula One. And you can access my columns by clicking on the link in the description area of this video. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know what is on your mind. So coming up this week, the last two races of the season, the 2023 season is about at an end, and probably the race that everyone has been looking forward to this weekend is the Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix. But first, we got to talk about what happened last time out, and last time we were in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Yet again, Max Verstappen was the man to beat. He led from pole. It was his 17th win of the season. Came from the top spot. The only thing he didn't get was the fastest lap. Lando Norris was probably a good story to follow, though, as Verstappen drove away out front as usual. He was the one that snagged that fastest lap honor, and quite honestly, he was the only one that could hold a candle to Verstappen all weekend long. So one of the biggest stories came before the start, before it even lined up. Charles Leclerc retired on the pace lap with a hydraulics issue in his Ferrari. It actually sent him spinning off the course, and another large crash once they actually did get everybody all lined up again after Leclerc spun out. Actually knocked out another two cars, damaged two more, and put those two actually a lap down. So it was a race of heavy attrition, which we normally don't see in this current era of the sport, which made things a little bit more interesting, but still it was all Verstappen all of the time. There was some better racing deeper in the pack, though, and especially toward the end of the race. And it was surprising, actually. Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin found some speed. He qualified fourth, and by the end of the race, he was holding back Sergio Perez, who, again, had a terrible qualifying effort and ended up starting ninth. But Alonso put in a masterclass in the final laps to keep that Red Bull behind him. Perez even got by him once, but Alonso did everything he could, threw everything against the wall, got back in front, and then just did superb positioning on his car throughout the turns to be able to keep Perez behind. Honestly, Perez should have been able to make that pass, and once he did make the pass, he actually should have been able to drive away. So it's another questionable performance, I would say, from Sergio Perez. That effort from Alonso, though, put him back on the podium, and that was a huge turnaround from where the team has been the past few races. They've had failed upgrades. They had to revert back to the old setup, so to be able to get back onto the podium for Alonso, quite the surprise, quite the turnaround, and we'll see if Aston Martin can actually keep that up in these last two races. The biggest miss in Brazil, though, had to be Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell started 5th and 8th, respectively. Russell was forced to retire with an engine issue, and Hamilton struggled throughout the entire race. He ended up finishing 8th, which is highly unlike him and Mercedes. The team did say that they found the setup issues that caused the cars to struggle compared to the rest of the field. They also seem confident they're going to be able to get over that, and it was just a one-time deal. But we'll see for sure this week. Going to be a big question there. So what is happening this week? Well, as I said, 2 races left to go in the 2023 season, and it is time for Las Vegas. And this could be the last chance, honestly, for any team to be able to win a race besides Red Bull. This is going to be their arguably best chance of the season, too. So what about Las Vegas? There have been 2 prior Formula One races in Las Vegas. Both of those were held in the parking lot of Caesar's Palace, though not quite the venue that you would associate with the glitz and glamour and the neon lights of Las Vegas. Those were obviously a big disappointment, and this return to the city fully intends to make up for that. It promises to be one of the flashiest races the fans have ever seen in the history of the sport. So the track, it is a street course, and it cuts right down the heart of the Vegas Strip with all the neon lights. In fact, the start times for all sessions were meant to be in complete darkness so that the city just glows at its finest. You have that great backdrop. Those long straights are followed by slow corners, which means passing should be plentiful, and the track has been touted as providing the opportunity for top speeds, the likes of which are normally seen at Monza, which is the fastest track on the calendar. And prior to cars actually getting on track and prior to this race actually getting underway, it is predicted that Las Vegas, despite being a street course, is actually going to be the second fastest track on the calendar. So the biggest difference for teams this week, aside from the fact that it's an all-new track, is going to be the session times and temperatures. As I mentioned before, those session times are all scheduled to take place deep into the night, so you've got the darkness for the neon lights. I don't know what anyone was thinking by doing that, but I don't think they anticipated the fact that it's November and temperatures, even in the desert, get quite cold and quite honestly almost near freezing. So it's going to be a huge challenge for the teams. I think that's kind of a big mistake. Pirelli will actually bring their softest compounds to help for that. In order to get the temperature in the tires, they want the softest compound possible. But it could be one of the coldest races in Formula One history by the time the lights go out for the race. And those long straights have plenty of time for brakes to cool down and tires to cool down before braking actually starts getting underway into the tight and slow corners. So we've got 3 questions ahead of this week's race with the all-new Las Vegas circuit. It's going to be exciting, but there are definitely some storylines that we want to follow. So as I mentioned, it is going to be cold in the desert. As I said, who decided this weekend sessions were a good idea? All of the weekend sessions at Las Vegas are going to be very late at night and very much on the cold side. Now, as I said, Pirelli is bringing that softest compound, and that's in an effort to make sure that they can get up to temperature as quickly as possible. The track's long straights are also going to make those tires cool by the time braking and turning is needed, though. Those conditions should favor 2 teams in particular. I'm looking at McLaren and Williams on that. So McLaren should get a boost, and the only question is whether or not that boost is enough to enable Norris to beat Verstappen or not. Remember, all season, the strength of McLaren has been the car's ability to get those tire temperatures up to speed really quickly. That's going to be advantage early in the starts for them. And then similar to Monza, who remembers Alex Albon at Williams at Monza? The track is fast and has those long, fast straights punctuated by the slow, tight corners. That's very much Williams's ballyhoo. So Aston Martin is our second question. As I said before, Aston and Alonso pulled a rabbit out of their hats in Brazil. Alonso positioned his car perfectly to hold off and then re-overtake Perez in that Red Bull. But will that form last? I'm not so sure. The teams really struggled developing their 2023 car. That has been the story of the season for them. A great start, but then they just really trailed off. And then they had actually probably even went backwards with the upgrades that they put on it. So did they really discover something in Brazil? That's a question I'm not sure even they can answer at this point, to be honest with you. My guess is that they would just keep whatever they had found in Brazil and keep that on for the rest of the season and just use the offseason to search for consistency and progress in 2024. Even if Aston Martin figured out what their ails were in Brazil, the Las Vegas track and the Las Vegas conditions are so different to what Brazil was. I think they're going to struggle regardless. So I wouldn't expect another outstanding performance and podium position from Alonso this weekend in Las Vegas. So lastly, what about a Ferrari upturn?
Hey, CJ, before you get to your third question, I was retrieving a voice message from my friend who's a big Formula One fan. Hopefully you can hear this. So here, let's see if we can hear this. Oh, of course. Now the timing's not right. Well, there it is.
Formula One, Vegas. Too bad it's on at fucking 1 o'clock in the morning. What a shit show, terrible idea that was. Why the fuck did they do it at 10 p.m. West Coast time? I mean, that's just really stupid, but whatever.
So I know you didn't really talk too much about fans and as far as the time of watching the race, but
I can put that after question number 3. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I just figured you'd go ahead. I mean, this is good. Go ahead. Go to question number 3.
Absolutely. So question number 3, Ferrari upturn. Is it for real? I mean, getting over Brazil's hydraulics issue, that's definitely what they're going to be aiming for this weekend. They too are going to be very hopeful that the Las Vegas layout will suit their car's strengths. But regardless, it should definitely suit the Ferrari better than Brazil did. So how much better are they going to be, though? That's really the question. Podium good or just top 6 good? Problem with Ferrari in 2023 is that no one ever really knows. I don't think the full combination of the track sections make Ferrari a favorite, but others will be good for them. So that leads me to the conclusion that while they may have some upside potential, their upside probably isn't going to be as strong as McLaren's is this weekend. So definitely some questions that we've got going on here for Las Vegas. A lot of unknowns in terms of what teams are going to be where. Undoubtedly, Red Bull is going to be strong. Undoubtedly, Max Verstappen is going to be strong. However, I do think that McLaren, Lando Norris in particular, has got a really good shot, and this might be the best shot of the season for them to win a race. Alex Albon and the Williams, this track and these conditions really should suit him. So I think that he's going to be in the mix for the points. The spoiler for those, and probably the third option there, is probably going to be that Ferrari unknown. So are they going to be able to manage their tires throughout the race? And are they going to be able to actually put in a challenge up there with Norris and Verstappen? Those are the questions that we're going to see. Now, I talked a lot about the start times. It's not just crazy for the teams, it's crazy for the fans. I mean, Las Vegas is on the West Coast. The session times aren't starting till like 10, 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast, where a very large portion of fans live. Most of the country that the race is actually being held in, quite honestly, is going to be asleep. And in fact, when you look at the way that the time zones go across the entire world, it's not a morning race for Europe. It's just at an odd time for everybody. And man, I do not know what Formula One was thinking when they set these session times. In addition to the cold temperature in November in the desert, like who wouldn't have thought of that? But then on top of that, talk about a headache for the fans. I don't know how many people are actually going to be watching this race live, except for those folks who are in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and California, and then those that are actually sitting in the stands in Las Vegas. For those few people who will be watching, though, as I said, Verstappen and Red Bull are going to be strong. However, I'm going to go with my top choice this week as being Lando Norris and McLaren. That has been my consistent option, the more risky option throughout the past several weeks as this season has gone on. But I do think this is McLaren and Norris's best chance to get on top of the podium, and probably their last chance, quite honestly, to win in the 2023 season. And I think they've got a car and a driver that can do it. They deserve it. So we'll see if they can actually pull it out. Looking at those odds, clearly Max Verstappen, as I said, Red Bull Racing, they're going to be the favorites. They've won 17 races this season. It's not going to be a surprise if they win 18 or possibly even 19 before the end of next week. But I do think Lando Norris this week and McLaren are going to be the two better options, certainly from a payout standpoint, but definitely also from a race. I think they've got a really good chance. So again, I am CJ Radoon of rotowire.com for Mystery Caution. I hope everybody is able to see some form of Las Vegas, whether it's on tape delay or if they actually stay up late to see it. We'll see. But remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of our motorsports videos all season long. We've got NASCAR, IndyCar, and of course, while you're here, Formula One. And you can access my columns by clicking the link in the description of the video. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know what is on your mind. And until next time, keep it out of the fence.